Hey, welcome back to the Detroit Lions Fan Forum podcast. I'm Mark, and with me, as usual, is the almighty and all beautiful Hitch.
Don't set the bar too high, man.
You've done it yourself. I love your Lions attire this week. You've got on a Grateful Dead t-shirt that has nothing to do with football.
If
You're
you were
pointing to
sitting,
your head.
if you were sitting behind me, you could see I have on a Lions hat.
All right. Well, thanks for not turning that around.
Some things never.
So how you doing this week, man? We all should be doing really well because we just won. I don't want to say a fantastic game, but we won a game that you and I and the whole fan base out there said, if you stick to this simple blueprint, it's going to just be an easy game.
The Honolulu blueprint.
There you go, the Honolulu blueprint. And it's called Run the Ball, right? Which is what we talked about up and down last week. So I would say it's clear that at least Dan Campbell is listening to this podcast, because not only did we call one or two or three or four or five things, but I really don't even think we have to talk about it too much because you and I just spot on nailed everything. I mean, it was one of those blueprint games.
You know, we're getting in this groove of being able to kind of call some shots here, but I swear to God, it's not a calculated thing. It just kind of comes up in conversation. Most of this is off the top of the dome, and I don't know. We're getting a little lucky, but it just makes me think we're watching close enough, and we're not reinventing the wheel here, but we're able to look at what has to happen, look at what we think needs to happen, and it's just refreshing to have a coaching staff that is going to implement these changes. I mean, I'm not saying we're high level NFL caliber analysts or anything like that, for God's sakes, but it's nice for us to be able to look at this and say, this is what we think is broken. And then we have this staff that watches the same tape. And guess what? They're like implementing a new game plan. They're fixing what is broken, right?
Well, and for the 30-some years we've been talking about sports and being involved in the Lions fandom, we've just really wanted to talk X and O's, right? Yeah. You and I aren't people that really, in our friend group, really don't really get into the dramatics of football, if there is any, right? The hot takes. It's really been X's and O's. And I think for a while we had to create our own in Madden, right? Just to have something to talk about. But you're right. To your point, we have a down and dirty coaching staff that not only do you want to play for, you want to root for it. You want to be on the fan base. And
they're as big of a personality as some of these players. We were able to obviously see that during Hard Knocks, which, I mean, how many times have you watched that season of Hard Knocks?
You know what? It's ironically, it's ruined Hard Knocks in general for me because I don't really care about any other team now that I saw my team.
And now that our team is good
at the right time. I mean, that's kind of going back to the scripted storybook of the NFL. But man, not only did we do everything we did in the office, in the draft, Hard Knocks got the story at the right time. We switched the jerseys that kind of combined with the Barry Sanders era, touches on that all-black Calvin Johnson, early Stafford, early era that we all secretly like the concept of the black. They just kind of
it conjures up some real bad memories when you see those.
It does, but jerseys. If you look at how they did it, right? Let's focus on these uniforms. In my opinion, they've done a really nice job at blending all the good parts of the past that previous management will say couldn't ever respect.
Lack thereof management, we should say.
Well, there you go. Lack thereof. Respect, right? So, and this isn't just unique to a football team. This applies to a workforce, really anything. Dude, when you live and breathe your brand, so does everybody on your team. And when we're sitting here going, hey, you know, I'm joking obviously about them watching, but we see this stuff. You should see this stuff. And they go, yeah, don't worry. We got it, guys. It's all on me. We're going to go take care of everything you see that we should take care of. Plus, we got a little surprise to let you know that we're still a legit team. Dude, that's what that game was to me. I'm sorry, but that's what it was. I know the scoreboard didn't reflect kind of the energy that I'm conveying with it because we did leave some points, right? Which, hey, you don't get extra points for winning by so much of a game. But I really felt like scoreboard set aside, when you looked at the stat sheet with, what was it, 188-yard runs to their 30-something, we completely made Kyler Murray do the one thing he can't stand, is standing in the pocket and launching the ball. He's got the arm strength to do it, but the guy's like 5'4", so he can't see. Even my son, Jason, said, well, how's he can't see. He's just launching that thing into open space.
Well, and there's been guys throughout the modern history of the NFL, small guys that have proven to kind of buck the norm. You got, obviously off the top of my head, the Russell Wilsons and the Doug Flutys, the Drew Breeses of the world, right? That buck the odds and buck the trend. But Kyler is proven to be just outside of that stratosphere of, like, not the top 5, the elite, but of that top 10, kind of where we always discussed with Matt Stafford. Where does he belong in this top 5, top 10? Kyler has the arm strength. He doesn't have the size, and he just doesn't have the edge that a guy like Breeze Breeze isn't a good example, because Breeze is really just first ballot Hall of Fame. But the Russell Wilsons.
I know where you're going, and I'm going to even help you get there quicker, because what you're saying is, and I see it on the guy's face, dude, he gives up. The second he's not out there darting passes to Marvin Harrison Jr., the second it's contested, the second he's getting some pressure, he just looks like, this sucks. I don't want to play this anymore.
Especially if he can't get outside of the pocket. And I want to get into something later about how we set the edge in this game. But when he has to stay in, like you said, when he's in that box, he can't get comfortable unless he has a wide open receiver. So not only were we able to set an edge, but we were able to effectively take away his options. And not to say that he didn't complete some passes, of course, but we set the edge and took away the run. We forced him to pass, and in setting that edge, we kept him inside of the box, inside of the tackle box, where he is so uncomfortable. And off of your point, where he just looks like somebody shit in his Wheaties. A buddy of mine the other day after this game, he said Kyler looks sad. He's like, he literally looked sad, And we burst their bubble. Yeah, we burst their bubble. We were a little bit worried about this game because of what they did to the Rams. They manhandled them, right? I think that Kyler, the Arizona fan base, a lot of people around the NFL thought maybe we have to watch out for them with this added piece of Harrison Jr., with the ageless wonder in James Conner, with Kyler having some weapons. But we went in and forced Kyler to be uncomfortable the whole time. And again, it didn't show on that sack stat, but the pressures, right? Forcing him to throw uncomfortable. We fucked him up.
It showed in the incompletions.
Yeah, we fucked him up.
Because instead of a sack, he would launch the ball.
Yeah.
Right? That's the big difference, right? And you look at the week before, what we were nervous about, and then you look at who's covering Marvin Harrison Jr., right?
The fuck
Terrion Arnold. I did hear that.
I have no idea what that was.
Most of all your houses have been haunted, so
right.
Let's hope this one's haunted as well. Well, on that beer crack, Terrion Arnold, right? You've got our first-round draft pick going against their first-round draft pick. And we're worried about his hands. We're worried about the plays, the calls, pass interference. Dude, that guy doesn't care if the refs aren't going to give him the love they did in Alabama. He kept with him. Look at it. I think he shut him down for 30-some yards.
He had a PI, and it wasn't egregious, and I think it was in the second quarter.
How many touchdowns did Marvin Harrison Jr. have?
That's what I'm saying. Shit like that is going to happen. A PI is going to happen. It's just unsettling to see another PI. If he can have a clean game, I'd feel a lot better about the occasional PI.
Look at the fucking Chiefs game. You're not going to get PIs thrown your way when you're a stud team. They even said it on the broadcast. Terrion Arnold isn't used to it playing in Alabama. He could kind of get away with it. Exactly. So that's just like playing for the Chiefs in the NFL.
When you say look at that Chiefs game, are you talking about the absolute missed, bungled PI call against, what's his name, the tight end in the end zone?
Yeah, Kyle Pitts,
where he was absolutely mauled, bear hugged, and they didn't
That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So if you want to talk about guys and you're burning them for their PI, nah. Because once they get on like Revis Island status, pass interference doesn't exist.
Well,
Richard
we've said
Sherman
it.
status,
We've
Terrion
said it.
Arnold is just keeps going and looks at that ref and says, "Throw the flags. I'm all over him." You'll run out of flags. The guy, I love him, dude. I
do too.
really love. He's the corner I've always wanted, and I thought it was Darius Slay, and then I got so upset when we traded him. But I think this Dolan and I would kid that we wanted like a good, solid hood ass corner.
Yeah, you got it. I'm going to ask you a question that I don't know the answer to. Maybe you can get the Google machine going. But did Rick Straw play, or was he scratched or injured? I really don't know.
You know, I don't think I paid my Google machine bill, but even last game he played one snap. So I don't really see him as a viable piece with Kirby Joseph doing everything he's been doing. Kellen Del Vildor got some playing time, which I think he deserved because last year
he got in because Arnold got hurt. When Arnold got hurt, my heart sank a little bit for the kid, but he rode the bike. He came back, right?
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you right now, you know, knock on wood, I haven't hit that heart sinking moment yet with the Lions. Maybe it's because I'm just taking the one game approach, kind of like that Dan Campbell has these guys. Maybe that's why these guys are so cool and calm. I'm buying into that locker room as much as they are, but I'm really not concerned. You know, even in the second half, they come out with, "Coach, you know, such and such is injured." And he's like, "Yeah, that's why we have a deep roster." And it's like,
we do have the depth. We have the depth to be able to get over some of these injuries. And there were some injuries this week. There's some injuries that are coming out in the media or in the news now that are a tough pill to swallow, but we do have the depth. Some of these injuries that we're going to talk about, we might not. We might hurt a little bit in this running game that we adore, might suffer a little, but we have depth. I'm not
Let me give you an example. I called out Alex Anzalone as a premier defensive key component. I didn't even realize because it was on up until game time. That, you know, obviously he wasn't playing until I saw him on the sideline. I mean,
that was a concussion. Do you remember him? Do you remember him going into the tent against Tampa? Do you remember a bad shot? Me neither.
I don't.
Me neither.
Yeah, I don't. That's a good point. No, I just thought that, okay, they'll take care of it. And the middle linebacking core wasn't something I was staring at. Wasn't something that looked like oh, wow, he's not playing, right? Like when Budda Baker left for the Cardinals, I noticed it.
Absolutely.
When he came back in, he rips down like 9 yards on a cut to tackle Gibbs.
Yeah.
Right. So
he's a game changer. You notice what a guy like that goes. A guy like Arnold that leaves this game, my heart didn't sink because I thought we were fucked without him. My heart sank because he's young, he's raw, he needs the playing time. Everything that we broke down about him going into this game says that we have some concerns, but hey, everything that we're worried about is coachable at this point.
She knows no end.
Right. I can't just leave it at work. It comes home with me.
I understand.
I was concerned for him because you don't want to see anybody get hurt, and this guy needs reps. This guy flashing what he's flashed might be the one dude on this team that needs the reps. He needs the game action. So when he went down, I was very happy to see him come back.
I feel like he thrives off the pressure of the coaching staff. Like when everything's on him, I just feel like he's one of those players that likes to be back against the wall. Energy.
Athletes like that like to be in the spotlight. You don't become an NFL corner if you don't want to be center of attention.
Well, look at Hutch, man, dude. He loves attention. Deserves it all. I think Hutch
I think he gets attention and he deserves attention, but he doesn't strike me as a guy that seeks out the attention. That's pure fire, dude. That guy is breathing fire when he gets into that backfield, and I don't think he can contain himself. I don't think it's a disrespectful look at me thing. I think he's
I was making fun of training camp.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is he doesn't need attention. His energy's contagious.
Yeah. That's just him.
You're right.
That's him.
You're right.
You know, guys like Revis and guys like Dion, they try to garner that attention. A guy like Hutch just shows up and you get what you get. And with him, you just get a motor that doesn't stop.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's true. That's a valid point. Well, speaking of that, since we talked about injuries, let's talk about this because this is popping on my phone. This was popping on my computer all at the same time. You were texting me. I actually had my coworker Matt come in, and same thing, right? He talks about it. We're talking injuries. So
Yeah.
I got a question to ask you because we'll start with the easy one, and we're in week 3. So does a Davenport injury really surprise you? Does it really bother you? And do you really think we're missing his production?
Okay, I'm going to try to answer all 3 phases of that question. So, phase 1, does it surprise me? No. No, and that's why we got him for $6 million as opposed to his last contract of what's 14, 13, 16. Doesn't surprise me. Phase 2 was, are we going to miss him? How's it going to affect us? Was that phase 2 of this?
Phase 3 was, are we going to miss his production or lack thereof?
What was phase 2?
You already got me forgetting phase 2.
See, we're just so
Well, I
fired
think you
up.
really hit it with his money too, because that's where I was really going with. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
doesn't surprise us. It doesn't hurt us financially.
But in what he brought to the table in 2 games, and I mean, we did okay without him. But we talk about that phrase of setting the edge. We're gonna miss, and we just got done talking about depth. We have depth, but you can't say that what we saw out of him in 2 games, what we know of his ceiling, that a healthy Davenport wouldn't be our best option. He was the other side from Hutchinson from day one. So we acquired him with the understanding that if he was healthy, he was playing, right? So
You're right. And I'm sure there's somewhere in the first episode where I'm making a big deal about, the importance of him just being on the field because it garnishes the attention. I get what you're saying.
yeah,
I guess
we
I'm
have
not
depth.
trying to make too much of it because for the second I turn the radio on, they're already doing the what ifs of the financial. Should we have gone more money after Matt Judon? And it just reminds me how quick the mainstream media with anything just tries to take you away from the X's and O's and make you feel like someone messed up. It's
I mean,
football.
we knew
People
what we
get
were getting.
injured.
We knew what we
Exactly.
were getting. We got that discount because of it. If this guy could
Yeah,
stay healthy, his ceiling is tremendous. We would be
of course.
talking about him with the Hutches and the Bosas of the world. Maybe not quite the Hutches and Bosas, but we would be talking about him. He would be a presence every week, and he makes Hutch's life easier when he's on the field.
He'd get 6 sacks, and we'd say that, hey, good job.
Yeah. If he
No,
came in
and-
here for $6 million a year and wound up getting 6 sacks, like we live in this NFL world where I will pay $1 million per sack, right?
No, it's true. It's true. It's funny but true.
It's sad but true, but that's the world
Sad
we
but
live
true.
in.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
No, you're right. Well, okay, so he's out for the season.
he is.
We've got. Who else do we have in concussion protocol right now besides me? We have. Who are we just talking about? Terran Arnold has a no. Brian Branch has a concussion.
Brian Branch has a concussion, and I think we can look back at where he flew across with Kirby.
I think that's clear as
on
day.
the sideline. He kind of fucked up a pretty solid turnover chance for Kirby by getting himself in there, which I'm not going to say don't fly in, don't be disruptive. But I think if we had to look at a play where it probably happened, it was right there. But interestingly,
Take a look at it right there because that's exactly what I'm talking about. If you see right where it's clearly his fault, I don't say his fault because it was one of those plays, but man, did you really have to go in like a missile like that?
I think guys that have his pedigree and his ability and hopefully 10 years from now, the career that he is on the trajectory for, yes, they have to go in like that.
Well, I can't say I don't respect his gangster because he's one of, honestly, my favorite players. I'm not someone, like we talked about, we're not people that buy jerseys. And honestly, up until probably last year, I had no Lions gear. This helmet is from my Barry Sanders Halloween costume in 92. I don't know.
Did you trick or treat so fast that nobody could keep up with you?
Razzle dazzle, baby.
Yeah, baby, shake and bake.
My golden retriever was dressed up as like a, obviously a lion with a thing, and Harthan had a Barry Sanders costume on. I think he had his shoulder pads all messed up. I have weird memories of that Halloween. Anyways, we're not big jersey people. We're more diehard fans, but I got a Hutch jersey for Christmas. Alicia and the kids bought me one because how can you not love him? That's a player you're going to
Absolutely.
get in all in on. But dude, there's so many players on the team now that like I could honestly say are jersey worthy, are ready for that, spot in the closet that I put on every now and then.
I wish those NFL official player T-shirts weren't $39 a piece, because I would buy one for all 52 of these guys, or 53 of these guys.
Exactly. Those things used to be cheaper. They were like $20, man.
So let me tell you a funny story about a Branch jersey. I'm not going to derail this, but I'm going
I already did that.
to. No, it's all good, dude. Uh, we used to, and we didn't this year. We'll probably get back to it in years to come. But we would run a free fantasy football league associated with the Detroit Lions fan forum on Facebook. The people that would frequently contribute would get priority. We would throw a post out there then to say we need to fill 5-6 spots. Does anybody else want in? And we would furnish a prize. It was we gave them an option of, do you want a jersey of your choice? Do you want a gift card in equal commiserate value to said jersey? And for 2 or 3 years, we did this. It was fun. We didn't do it this year. We're going to do it again. But last year, a dude from our high school, Tim Gershak, won the league. And I contacted him and I said, hey, dude, we're kind of not podcasting right now, but we're going to honor our offer. What jersey do you want? And I think he wanted like a Hutch home. And Ronnie was always gracious enough to buy the jersey. When he got to this place where he gets his jerseys, they didn't have the Hutch home or away. They had a Branch. So just on a whim, he bought an away Branch, a white Branch. And I texted Timmy and I said, listen, if you don't want this jersey, we'll hold off. We'll get you your Hutch. And he said, no, dude, I dig Branch. So Timmy, if you're listening, your Branch jersey has been in the back pocket of my driver's seat in 2 different leases. It's still in the plastic. It's still in there. So I have a Branch jersey in my driveway right now. And Timmy, I'll try to get it out to you. Let's do this, Tim. If you're listening, fire me out a text. And if you listen to this and you share this, I will call in sick to work and I will drop it off to your house. So it's in my driveway. I haven't pirated it yet. It's still Timmy's. It's out there. It's the only jersey I currently own.
Now that would be Tim Grushak or Gershak?
Well, is it Melifanu? Is it Malifanu? Like, I don't know. Tim Greshak?
I also loved Furnish a Prize like this is a game show from 1978. I just not only forgot about that, but I want to start bringing some of those very fancy, respectable phrases to minuscule things back. I feel like that would really...
I make a conscious effort to dumb down my vocabulary ever since I was about 12, and people just had no idea what I was talking about. I kind of got to dial it back a little bit.
Furnish a prize. I love that. I love it. That's fantastic.
If we were truly furnishing prizes, my microphone bulb would be about the size of a Coke cap, and my microphone would be pencil thin. Right?
I always love those. Maybe we should have a throwback episode. That would be
come on down.
Come on down. Well, we got Brian Branch. We've got Davenport. Can you pull up your internet thing and see if Anzalone is still on that injury report?
So let's see here. We're gonna chat while I use this thing and see. Let's look up Detroit Lions injury report.
I know Melifonte's still on it.
We're going to talk about, while we're going to pull this up, if we're going to pull it up, we're going to talk about our buddy Frank. That's a big blow with his pack.
They say he's still playing, though.
Well, he played through it. It looks like he injured that pack during this game and finished this game, but he's out. He's out now. We don't know how long he's out for. We know it's, at this point, not for the season, but he's going to miss time.
We've lost him before, and he's an absolute crucial part of that offensive line, but I feel like he's also at that status where he's such a veteran that whoever has his backup role, I feel like has his identity, right? That's not something you're going to pass along to just anybody, so I'm really comfortable with weathering the storm. Now, if you tell me Frank Ragnow's out for the season, yeah, I'm a little upset. I'm a lot upset, actually. That hurts.
He's gonna miss
starts
time.
Getting me. Time's okay.
They announced today that they're not IRing him yet, or even IR designated to return, but he's going to miss time, and that's going to
It's
affect
the
our run game.
NFL. Look at Philadelphia right now. Their whole offense is out, right? Like we're not the only team. And shit, half the Cardinals got banged up too, right? So
Sure, that was I have in my
we're
notes.
not the only team that got the injury bug.
I have in my notes of something to cover that this was just smash mouth football. There's nothing wrong. There was nothing wrong with this turf. There was no significant dirty play that we can point to.
Nope.
This was two NFC teams that really wanted to win. They both had something to prove. We're coming in on a low note. They're coming in on a high note. We're trying to bury this shit. They're trying to prove that they're for real. And we just played fucking football. And guys got hurt, dude. It's unfortunate. But statistically, somebody gets hurt on every play in the NFL, and they're compensated as such.
We showed up. I mean, look at the fan base.
Yeah.
Look, they completely... It was a home game. I'm watching it. In a sea of red, I saw nothing but blue.
It was a little bit of a takeover. You know, I had family and friends that went on the road a lot last year. I had good friends in Kansas City for week 1. I had family and friends in New Orleans. I had family and friends in New York. I think it was New York. It was just a takeover. Everywhere we went was a takeover. So when you look at how many Lions
think about
fans
how many
were in that
people
stands,
relocate just when they retire from this lovely state, right?
to places like Florida and Arizona.
Weather.
Yeah.
Right. Florida and Arizona, and there's not shit in Arizona for sports. Right.
Ooh.
So even if you're an implant or whatever, it's cool, right? I mean, and there's a lot of folks that went to Colorado. There's a lot of Michigan people everywhere. I mean, you said it. Friends or family, anywhere I go that we've traveled and I wear a Michigan something just to kind of let folks know, you'll get somebody that pops up and wants to talk to you about it. So, no, it's part of the NFL. It's not exclusive to one team, but I guess it's how well prepared are you as a coaching staff and how deep is your roster. And hey, let's not forget kind of what we're doing with our practice squad, right? This is where those key moments come in of how we talked about how they're kind of uniquely using that practice squad to keep things hot, to keep things moving, to keep the competition going, to keep everybody on the same path.
So let me, I got this list up. It's long. And there's one on here, besides for Frank Ragnar, that really bums me out. So let me kind of go through these injuries. And this article was posted yesterday, so I'm sure I could find more current information. But I think this is pretty up to date. Right off the rip here is really the one that when it happened, it bummed me out, man. And now I'm seeing, and I didn't see this before, this phrase, significant amount of time will be missed for Derek Barnes.
That bumps me out because I think Derek Barnes was doing an exceptional job at everything they were asking him to do. And ever since the coaching staff really started to blossom, you know, in the middle of that one season, we saw Derek Barnes really show up every time he was asked to show up. You highlighted that kind of nice little block that he had, crucial one at the end of that game. He's doing everything we want him to do. Now, are we waiting for him to have a game on the stat sheet? Yeah, I think that would be cool, but if he just kept doing everything he was doing, I'd still love it. So I'm gonna be bummed out about that one too.
Yeah, and you know what? This is a guy that we could see like developing week by week, and a guy that was on the stat sheet as a starter, putting up starter numbers, making plays, versatile, and I mean, I'm trying to read ahead a little bit here to see what they're suggesting is a stopgap or a replacement, but you can't, when you got a team that operates so heavily on this energy and this synergy that they all have together, it's hard, dude, to replace a dude. But then maybe in the same breath, whoever the next man up is kind of playing for Barnes, right? He's got big shoes to fill, and I believe I've never heard a negative word about Barnes out of camp. Make the dude proud, hold down the fort until he can come back.
Yeah. No, so I'm really, I think where you're headed is let's really focus on the linebackers this week coming up with Seattle. I mean, dude, that's a Monday night game. That's a heavy time game because Seattle looks like Seattle, man. They look like an 8-8 team that'll blow you out. You know what I mean? Like they look like they're going to lay down on an easy game against the Browns and then air raid you out 48-47. So every time we play Seattle, it's always been a weird kind of like, it doesn't matter how the teams are. It's just going to be one of those games.
And we'll get into this towards the end here. We're going to break down Seattle, and I got some big feels about the Seattle game. But let me get through this list here, and we don't have to belabor the point because honestly, anybody that's listening to this is tracking the same shit that we are. You're not listening to this. You're not a big Lions fan, but Derek Barnes, it just says, will miss some significant time per Dan Campbell, hurt his knee in the first half, and then we're going to go right down to Davenport. Already talked about him. Don't got to belabor the point. Likely season ending. I believe they announced today that he's on the IR.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah, and now this list here just is naming everybody. We know John Kaminsky is out. It says still a ways off from returning. And then we're going to get into Brian Branch. Brian Branch in the NFL concussion protocol. Now, what I want to point out here, it benefits him greatly that this is a Monday night game.
It does.
Right? The NFL concussion protocol states so many days symptom-free, so many days removed from that concussion. So if I had to bet, I would say that he was going to play unless this was a really significant concussion. And not to say that every concussion isn't significant, but unless he just knocked his block off, I think that we can hope that he plays. It's good for me to read this right now. Alan McNeil, shoulder, day to day. Wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play, but it's not saying will miss significant time. It's not saying season ending. And now
no risk for panic.
Yeah, now something maybe to be a little distressed about, even though it says day to day, is Laporta. It's always unnerving when you see somebody going off on the cart with a towel over their head, right? Let's see. It says,
I believe, is what for him.
Low ankle sprain, and now I'm glad it's not broken. I'm glad there's. Oh, there we go. I'm back.
No, it's not broken. I really think this is going to be more. You kind of called it with Brock Wright. I'm not saying we don't need Sam Laporta. We love Sam Laporta. We absolutely need Sam Laporta. But if you're the coaching staff, do you want Sam Laporta healthy down in the end of the season? Do you need him for the playoffs? Or do you want to kind of take this ankle sprain and just, you know what I mean? Kind of
my only concern here is, rest him up. We have depth at almost every position. Rest him up. Let him miss a game or two if he needs to. But something like an ankle sprain for a guy that has to start out in a 3-point stance and then get fast it's trouble. It's something that can linger.
I'm just trying to be positive and I guess go back to that depth
oh boy
that you were talking about and we were talking about. It's just one of those things where, hey, dude, week 4?
Yeah.
It's not something I'm freaking out about.
No, I'm not freaking out really about any of it because we keep going back to the fact that we have the depth, but it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Talk about jersey sales, talk about last year's performance, talk about national attention. It's unfortunate. It takes away a face. Brock Wright is very serviceable. He proved that last week, but it just takes away an option. It takes away a very viable option.
Away a furnished gift.
Yeah. Yeah. So we covered the injuries. Nothing new, no breaking news here, but this was a tough game. It was a tough game.
Yeah, that was a tough game. It was a fun game, though, to watch. If you like you said, some smash mouth, knock around football, even the announcers were having a blast just watching it. Kudos to the Cardinals. I mean, like you said, their fans showed up in the beginning. The team, it's really like Budda Baker. I'll just leave it at that. I wouldn't mind having him on my team.
For sure.
I think they did a nice job, but dude, let's forget about those stupid birds. I'm done.
They're in the
Let's
past.
move
I
on.
mean, I don't know if we want to look down the road. We'll have to see. We're early into the beginning of week 4 here. There might be a team that we could see again, but
I
the
think
only way
every
that's
team
going to
you
happen.
got to say we might see you again. I think you got to have that in your head, right? This is the NFL. We've seen some weird shit happen,
Yep.
and this is not a team who gets comfortable. This is not a team who sits on the in the jacuzzis and sipping champagne. I mean,
Right.
take a look at MCDC, baby. That's all you got to leave it at. But that's. I kind of want to go into this Seattle game with some really hardcore energy because I think they're going to need every single ounce of it.
Yeah.
Because this is
Yeah.
a team that it doesn't matter who their quarterback is, who their coach is now, who I think is a great coach. It doesn't matter who's hurt, where they're playing. Man, they seem to be a franchise that knows how to be even if you beat them, they're not an easy win.
Seattle is a tough play for us, and I'll get corrected. I know I will. I don't know what our lifetime record is against Seattle, but you can't help to think about some of the crazy shit that happens when we play Seattle, right?
Right.
It made national news that DK Metcalf had to go take a shit. It was the talk of the league when only half of the personnel on the field heard that whistle and they let that touchdown stand. I mean, what is more lionized than that kind of shit? So I'm looking forward to this game.
I think that's a good point because
I got this in my notes. What you're about to bring up.
Well, and are we on the other side now? When we played Seattle, they were the Legion of Boom. They were a very hot team, and we were not. Let's just call it what it was. And I'm not saying they're not a hot team, but are we way more respected now to where no one's pooping during our games?
We got a call, and I truly think it was fair. And what I'm talking about is the interception for what looked like a pick six that was called back because the 2-minute warning had already occurred. Very similar to what happened to us against Seattle with this phantom whistle. But if you watch the game, if you rewatch the game, you can hear the whistle, man. The 2-minute warning occurred. They blew a whistle, and I think they made the right call. It doesn't change the fact that Goff threw a bad pick, right? But did he know that the whistle was blown? Did he hear the whistle? So when we're looking at being on the other side of this, I'm not saying that we're benefiting from bad officiating as opposed to getting screwed by bad officials, but I think the tides are turning as to where when something like this goes down, they might rule in our favor. But in this scenario, that whistle was blown, that play was dead. But it's funny that something like that just happened when we're getting ready to play Seattle again because it was so reminiscent of what happened last time.
And that's more to my point, like you said. It's not that we're getting the Kansas City Taylor Swift call. It's that they're just not coming after us. They're literally not just trying to use us as, what are you going to do about it? You're the Lions. They're at least giving us a fair shot.
I'll believe that the tide is turned with this NFL and their terrible officiating when they start consistently calling holding calls against Hutchinson.
No, that's not going to happen. And I don't mean the tides are turning. I just meant we're not the target. I'm not saying we're getting the love. I'm just saying we're not, hey, let's go after them. They're super easy to pick on, right?
Well, with this Campbell regime and Brad Holmes regime, we've made it through 2+ seasons now without them instituting an off-season rule change because of some way that we got jobbed.
That's true.
And we got to take that as a win.
It's a win. It's an absolute win. Oh. And I think with Seattle's running game, it's going to really test kind of what you highlighted and reminded me with Davenport is who's going to fill that spot, who's going to allow Hutch to be this disruptor, because we know Geno Smith can do everything. I don't even think we need to highlight that. If you've watched this guy before, especially play us, he's a threat, right?
Yeah, he absolutely is. You can't discount him. You absolutely can't discount him. He's kind of this idea of him being this retread.
Yeah,
is long gone.
It's long gone.
Yeah,
yeah, it's long gone. He's a legit quarterback. DK's a freak. He's strong. He's big. He's fast. He's smart. He's not somebody that you're going to get into his head. I respect him as a player. It's going to be real interesting to see how we cover him. If we put two guys on him, it'll be interesting to see if we spy.
I think
I
it's
can't just
Davis's.
think of
I
his
think
name.
it's Davis's job all day.
It's Davis's job, but
I
are you going
think.
to
I
have
mean, we don't know
somebody?
that. We don't know that for sure, but I think it
Will
is.
you bring
I
a
think,
safety up over the top on him a lot? I mean, are you really going to? I mean, they can beat. Let's just say you and I are both going to say this. They can beat you both ways. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball.
so not just to be contrarian here, but I think the first note. I just flipped the page to this, looking forward at Seattle in my notes here. The first note I have, honestly, is we should be able to stop this run and force them to beat us in the air.
Oh, fair enough. And I think that's exactly what we did last week. We stopped the run and we forced them to toss it out. So maybe that's the simple blueprint for the defense. We have the simple blueprint for the offense. It's what? Run the ball.
Yeah.
So, hey, stop the run, force them to air it out, because our backfield is a lot nicer than it was last year. I like that.
We
I like
said
that.
it.
I'm sticking to that.
We said it last week. I think I said it. Whoever wins the time of possession in this Arizona game was going to win the game, and that's not rocket science. That's not a fresh take. But our time of possession last week was 36 and some change to 23 and some change. You win the time of possession by pounding the football, right?
Yeah, you kill the clock. You don't even give them an option. So much is lost in the air raid offense with the sexiness of what you can really do when you can just have to keep your opponent out there, and they know that you're coming right at them.
Yep.
And you end up picking them up and carrying them in the air 6 to 8 yards, and their feet are dangling and they're laughing, as you said earlier.
That was my favorite part of that game, and I was going to circle back to this. Yeah, there was two distinct moments in this game that we were going to see on NFL Films Theater, and we're going to see at the end of the season when ESPN during their ESPYs runs like a highlight package of the whole season. There are two plays that occurred in this game that we are going to see now and forever, and one was the carry, literally the carry for 6 yards, I think, dangling his feet around like he was a little kid in a shopping cart or something and smiling bigger than I was. That to me was fucking excellent. And then we have the hook and ladder.
We have the hook and we have the ladder. You're right.
And we scored
a touchdown.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because, and no one's going to say they saw it coming, but I got up to go to the kitchen to grab a Gatorade, and it was one of those, I look up and it's St. Brown just to Gibbs. I'm like, is this real? Did I just see college football?
Yeah.
And it's a touchdown, and I'm just sitting there at the counter, like shocked almost.
Yeah.
In awe. I'm like, that worked. There's my onion peel back. I mean, that's just week 3 with Ben Johnson, dude. What are we going to see in week 4? He's going to pepper something else in, but it won't be, in my opinion, he got a little too risky last year. I think he's done a really nice job at not out coaching himself.
Sure, and I think we saw him out coaching himself in the first 2 weeks. There was a lot of suspect play calling in the first 2 weeks. There was no real game tempo, no real script. Not really capitalizing consistently on what they were giving us. My text to my two best friends, Bone and Brett, during this game was Ben Johnson's back, baby. And let's watch the rest of the league try to integrate the hook and ladder in for the next year.
Kansas City?
Yeah, no shit.
Kansas City basically tries to run all of our plays.
And Kansas City and San Francisco, man. San Francisco did
look at the way they're built. Look at San Francisco. I see us as, it's no hot take, as you say, but a mirrored image of San Francisco, where you have each position has its important starting guys that kind of set the tone, but there's all that depth. Look what San Fran's doing without Christian McCaffrey, without Debo. They're always, it just doesn't matter who's playing in it because they're well coached.
Yep.
They draft really good. They're just all around a good healthy
they're
franchise.
a team from inside out, built similar to us, like you're saying. And you look at the way they're missing McCaffrey. I mean, fantasy owners are missing McCaffrey. The play callers are missing some of what they can do with McCaffrey, but with a good offensive line, man, you're not really missing McCaffrey.
Exactly. And that's the best part about, I think, where we're at this season to where we were at last season. Last season, it was like, look at these Lions. They're there. Oh, okay. And now it's every week. It's like it's given. You're going to see
The
them in the top 5,
the
and you're
national
going to see a
perspective has
really
changed.
nice article about they did what they were supposed to do. Dot dot dot. See them next week. Like real
Yep.
basic. Just
Yep.
okay.
The
Not a
the
lot to read.
national perception of our Detroit Lions and the national purview of these Lions is that they should win every game that they play.
Yeah, that's well
And
said.
that's different. It's different, and I'm still getting used to it. I'm overreacting to losses. I'm expecting them to win. Right? It's different. We're looking at a
And you
whole
have your
different.
Grandpa Simpson moments where I think overall, you're doing better than some people I know that, even after the first loss, we're getting into that 3-letter mindset. And it was just like, whoa, dude, pump the fucking brakes. But
Yeah.
let's not lose sight of Seattle. We saw such a different offense, I want to say. And different, I mean what we want to see. I'm asking you right now, besides the obvious, who do you need to show up on this offense this week? Who do you say really needs someone on the offense, and I need so-and-so to really make a push to have a stat sheet?
So I want to answer this, and I think I have to look at this in my head like a unit approach, right? With Ragnar being out, we might have to move your boy Glasgow back
Oh,
to
yeah,
center.
Brian.
If we move old Graham back to center, what's that going to look like on our left side? What's that going to look like on our right side? I would look for both units, actually, not to get ahead of ourselves, but both units to respond and weather these injuries on both sides of the offensive and defensive line. Both sides of the trenches need to show that they have the depth. They need to show that we can fill the gap, right? Let's just say hypothetically McNeil misses this game. Kaminsky's still out. We're looking at guys like DJ Reader. We're looking at Hutch, obviously, to be a force, but let's see how these alternators, how these beneficiaries respond.
No, that's a good take. I like that because, everybody that's selling a jersey in a hot position kind of is doing their job right now. And the key component is because of the lines, right? So with the lines being banged up, I think, yeah, we need to see a Dan Skipper, probably someone they'll bring in.
Did Skipper get hurt this week or last week? I know he went down.
I thought it was last week.
But he wasn't on this report that I just read from the 23rd.
Yeah, no, I think we got a clean Skipper. But there's some guys in that offensive line that I don't mind seeing them out there every now and then. Not say they're starting comfortable, but that's a good take. I like that. And then on the defensive line, who's going to fill in for Davenport? I really think is going to be the big question.
I don't know, man. I think that
who's
you're
going to cause some attention getting called to the other side.
So let's be real here. Who is going to benefit from the Hutch factor? I don't think it has to come from the edge.
Okay.
You got Hutchinson just demanding the double teams and the triple teams and getting chipped and leaving a running back in the box to just try to mitigate what he can do. I'm not looking at who directly on this depth chart is going to take over for Davenport. I'm looking at who's going to step up. Is it going to be somebody from the middle? Is it going to be someone coming strong from the middle? Somebody is still going to be less attended to because
so
of
you're saying this isn't just an edge rusher's day. This is anybody that wants to step on the defensive line and step up and say, hey, coach,
I would like
put me in.
I would like to think that obviously Pascal snap count's going to go up. Hopefully he can keep trending in the right direction and get on the stat sheet. Maybe we see Houston dressing for the first time. I'm still a little bit confused about this. Maybe, I mean, he's a pass rush specialist. You're not going to put that guy in. You're going to see a lot more Cameron Reeves-Maybin than you would ever see Houston. But if we're looking to set this edge and to bring pressure off of the edge, maybe we dress Houston. But Pasquale and right down the line, everybody's snap count's going to increase. And again, we said this before. It's hard to say like we're really looking at DJ Reader here because he was the second best D tackle in free agency.
Yeah.
We paid him so. We paid him such. It's hard to be like, hey, one of our studs is going to have a great game. But defensive line more than anything else, you're spelling in and out. You know, when you have somebody playing on your offensive line that didn't start the game at the top of your depth chart, it means that somebody needed medical attention. When you're looking at your defensive front, they're mixing it up. They're spelling. They're trying to match and anticipate the packages that they're going to see. So a guy like DJ Reader might be able to put a stamp on this as like, I am a Detroit Lion. I'm worth the money that they're paying me. I'm healthy, right? And now watch that I say this. Maybe tomorrow they'll announce that he's injured again or something. But a guy like him should be able to really step up and generate some pressure. He should be able to continue doing what he does against the run. Again, this is without Davenport. This is without McNeil. So we're going to have to really look at the inside of this line to see who can kind of carry this without Davenport.
I like your take. No, that's solid. That's really in depth, and that's got some thought behind it. It hides not only is it everybody's game, but it's also somebody else's to say, hey, you paid me a lot of money. I'm going to light up the stat sheet every now and then, right? So that's great. That's great.
Well, and then the offensive side. Let's look for this mentality. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let's look for this mentality of like when your coworker is out sick. If you really like your coworker, you are going to do everything you can do to check those voicemails, clear those emails, make sure they can come back full go, right?
Yeah, you're right. No, and that's no different. Like we said, these guys are saying, hey, when I'm out, this baby's yours. You better take care of it. You better oil it, treat it like I do, wash it, wax it. No, that's a fair take. This is one of those games where I feel like I don't really understand how you even set a line on this with these two teams. I was really thinking, because they got close to picking the score last week. I think it was off by a point. They said 21-17. This is one of those games, man. I'm not really sure. Is it all defense or is this an air raid? What are you thinking?
So I'm looking for the defense to play a factor every week. They have to prove to me that they're not going to be a game-changing defense, right? So I'm looking, regardless of injuries, I'm looking at this defense to make a statement week in and week out. These safeties have gotten better every week since like week 6 of 2023, right? I'm looking for this defense to be a consistent factor all the time. One of these times, and I'm not saying this game, so maybe in my attempt to answer your question, maybe even looking further down the road, we will see a game where this offense goes bananas. And I'm not just talking about 2 100-yard rushers or 2 80-plus-yard rushers. I'm talking about Laporta 130 yards with a 70-yard touchdown to J-Mo. I'm talking about Brock and Laporta both scoring. I'm talking about 150 yards on the ground and 400 yards passing. It's going to happen. We're not in the tempo that I thought they would be in yet. And with what we know of Ben Johnson, with what we know of what these guys can do, I don't know if it's going to be Seattle. It would be a lot of fun if we did that on Monday night. Kind of
so
really
be an offensive freak off? Is that what you're discussing?
I think we're going to see the freak off, and I'm not trying to skirt your question. It's going to happen. It might not happen this week. It might not happen next week, but we're going to see some consistency in these guys just kind of, I hope at least, imposing their will any way they wish to do it. I don't know if it's going to be this week. I hope it's going to be this week. Again, a huge stage to do it on against a team that we've kind of developed this rivalry mentality with. Another NFC team, primetime. It would be awesome to see Goff have 325 and 3 touchdowns and to rush for 200 yards rushing. I don't know. I mean, of course, that would be awesome.
You do this shit to me all the time. Give me. What do you think it's going to be? What's the score? Gun to your head.
All right, let me punch some buttons up here real quick.
Pretend you got P. Diddy right behind you.
Oh God, you're gonna get a shadow banned again.
Got a shadow banned last time.
All right, well I'll call it, dude. Detroit Lions win at home, prime time, 28-17 ish.
Ooh, that's a good one. I really like where you came with that. Yeah. I'm feeling the same thing with the 20s. I'm feeling that like 24 to 19. Figure that one out.
Yeah, I was doing this math in my head last week when we missed the extra point, and I was looking at my score prediction of last week. I think I said 38-24 or something. I kept thinking, how is that going to add up, right? But
yeah,
I mean, crazy shit happens. Maybe we'll see.
I think it's going to be one of those crazy shit happen games, and that's kind of been the theme of what we've been talking about. Is it's happened in the past, it's happening in the NFL, as it's a reoccurring theme right now that the mainstream media is talking about what happened with the Chiefs. Is this a crazy shit happen game where crazy shit happens, but it doesn't happen to us? We'll see. I think that's where we need to leave this one. Really, this is going to be a primetime game at home. Ford Field. Weather is going to be fantastic for people to be coming outside.
That crowd noise is going to be insane. And we have this added incentive.
We have the 12th man now.
We got to show them this 12th man.
And we'll be louder than their 12th man used to be at home, because they were kind of the ones that in the modern way, if you went to go play in Seattle, you were playing in the Thunderdome. Yeah. So I think this is going to be that game, dude. It's going to be loud. It's going to be intense. It's at home. Everyone will be watching coast to coast. Shout out to all of our people out in Germany and Australia.
1.2% listeners in Australia. Thank you, Paul Tomzak.
Big shout out to Australia.
So
love what you're doing with the water.
We're right at the 1 hour mark. This is a perfect time to wrap this up. So let's look forward to getting back and talking about some grit here, right?
Yeah, let's look forward to that, because I'm really looking forward to sitting on the couch, maybe some nachos, and just watching this game, dude. This is just going to be a fun football game.
I sure hope so.
All right. Well, you got any last words, Hitch?
No, dude. I'm just raring to go.
I'm raring to go too. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody who's been listening, who's been sending comments, who's been doing the feedback. The viewership's getting steady. We need you guys to actually subscribe to the YouTube page. That's a really big, important thing. Share it. Get on the fan forum. Please put some topics out there that you want us to talk about. Outside of that, everyone have a good night. Peace.
Cheers.